Every single year, I try my best to kind of tackle my physical TBR, but it just seems that throughout the year, I love to go thrifting. I love to try and go buy for my birthday some books that I really want. And then I add multiple, like we're talking 10s to 20 or so books to my physical TBR. So that poses, out of my 2 bookcases and out of my 300 and something books, how many books do I actually have on my shelves that are a part of my physical TBR? How many books have I not tackled? And is this year, 2026, going to be the year that I actually try and tackle my physical TBR to the point of hitting my goal and not being about 10 books or so off of it? Since it is the beginning of 2026, I do have this nice hopeful goal of trying to get below a certain number for my physical TBR. And let me just kind of go into detail about my physical TBR since we're sitting down here. You can't really see, but this shelf and then this bottom shelf too, both of those are my physical TBR shelves. For the year 2025, I did start it out around 98 books on my physical TBR that I had counted. There were probably some that I didn't actually get to that were boxed up or just somewhere else. So we're just gonna say 98 books. In 2025, I did tackle also 56 books. But does that mean that I'm around 40 on my physical TBR? No. I went out multiple times for book shopping. I think just 2 times, one for my birthday and then one for December because I had a 10% off coupon that was expiring in the new year. And multiple times I thrifted throughout the entire year. So I added to my collection, and if you do the math of what I started with on my physical TBR, how many books I accomplished, but then count exactly how many books I had on my shelf that I hadn't read, it was basically like I only read 23 books, even though I read 56. But because I bought so many, it didn't really count. So in today's video, we are going over my physical TBR, what books I actually have left to read, and my hopeful goal for this year. I'm gonna sit down here on the floor. I'm not gonna show you guys my shelves per se, but I am going to go through each and every book, and at the end, we will count how many books I have in total. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. Starting off, we're gonna start with my older shelf, which actually you can see there's a major dent off of the shelf. Some things I am not going to actually read because they're more like the story things. A lot of things, majority of the things on there, I have already accomplished. So the first thing I have is The Story of Sam Michelle. I have not tackled this, even though it has sat on my shelf for 10 years or so. It's one that I was given more so when my neighbor passed away. I got a lot of her older style books, and I've been slowly tackling them, but for the most part, I'm only trying to do about 2 or so per year, so I'm not getting too burnt out. And this one in particular is one of my most beautiful books. I love it so much. It has the author's handwriting in a way, like his signature, and then this is what the spine looks like. It is so beautiful. I would love to tape this like you will see some of these books, but because the cover is so beautiful, I just don't want to tape it to preserve the cover. This is probably one of my most intimidating reads just because of how thick it is. Even though I feel like I read thick books all the time, there should be no reason why I'm so worried about this book. Next, I'm gonna rapid fire in a way through 5 of these books. Again, they're older style books, and they're also the most random books. So first I have Lucy Carmichael. This is by Margaret Kennedy. The Story 10 Papers. This is actually on my 26 and 26. Warwick's Woman. This is also one that I just never think about reading, but I do like the cover, and I am kind of interested now that I'm viewing the cover a little bit more. I do want to hop into this probably within the next year, if not maybe 2 years, depending on how this year goes, let's just say. The Shrouded Walls and the Dark Shore, and finally The Bishop's Mantle. I also have one child's book left. It is just Black Beauty. I do want to tackle this, and I just read Black Stallion and Flame, and I really enjoyed that book, so hopefully I enjoy this book as well. My husband is going to annoy me again. And then next I have one single author, but I have multiple books from this author. First we have Agatha Christie's Crooked House. This is the only one in a single book because then also I have a couple in this 5 novels in one. I have tackled 2 of these books, so I have 3 in here. I've tackled N or M, and then also Dead Men's Folly. I just tackled Dead Men's Folly, and I really enjoyed that one. It was very short though. I do have The Murder at the Vicarage, I do believe, and then we have Side Cypress and also Towards Zero left to tackle. Love Agatha Christie. I feel like hers are so interesting, and also you can find audiobooks if you're really struggling to get through her books, but they're fairly short, very interesting, and I never really can guess the mysteries, and I really enjoy that because usually I spoil a lot of thriller books and stuff for myself. All right, let's move into the current book I'm reading and also some other books from the same author. Towards the end of December, I picked up a 300-page book, and I really just did not enjoy it. I wanted to finally get it off of my physical TBR because it's one that I picked up thinking it was a YA fantasy because it was in a YA fantasy section, and it was very much adult romance, but more like lust, just pure lust, and I really struggled, but I wanted to know if there was any plot to that book, and come to find out there was maybe plot at the very end of the the book, and I just really did not enjoy that book. So I did get rid of it, and while I was procrastinating on finishing it because I didn't actually want to pick it up, I decided to start a read it or unhaul it. So you will see this video here shortly, but I did end up picking up one of the biggest books on my physical TBR. It's also one of my newest books I just picked up, which is Under the Dome by Stephen King. I picked this up for free actually at a library sale. I did not think that it was 1,000, almost 1,100 pages. I knew it was a very chunky book. However, I thought it was like 800 pages. Come to find out, it's 1,100 almost. It's 1,072 in the copy I have. And so far, I'm kind of a decent chunk into it. I'm about 316, which is kind of sad considering 316 pages, which is a full book, is only this far into this book. But I have made a little bit of progress, and I'm hoping to definitely finish it in the month of January, but more so try and finish it in the next week or two, give or take. I don't want to rush through it, but so far I've been enjoying it so much that I also just want to sit down and read it, especially the copy I have, because it's so flimsy and it's so big, and I love this. So we do have our first book from Stephen King, which is Under the Dome. Then I have Different Seasons and also Needful Things in the small mass market paperbacks from my mom. And then finally, my mom just picked this up from one of her library sales, I think for like $1, and I think this one's around 800 pages. So it's the same thickness, if not more, but this is actually Insomnia. I have no clue what this is about at all. Same with Needful Things in Different Seasons. I've heard different things about both of those, and then also this is just one that I feel like nobody really talks about. I'm in for a little bit of a ride when I read those because it's Stephen King. It's going to be a very interesting story, very interesting, multiple probably plots. He has really amazing characters for the most part, or like terrible characters, but he does really good with his characters, and also his storytelling is really good. However, it is also Stephen King, so it's not so much the gory stuff, it's more like the vulgar language, especially. I don't know how to exactly put it, but certain things that happen to certain characters, it doesn't always have to be a female either. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. If you've read some Stephen King, you probably know what I'm talking about. Those are the only complaints I have about those books. Also, they're fairly chunky, all of them, and I feel like Stephen King, he's more of that author besides with Christine that I will probably just read 1 or 2 books from him a year max, and I don't want to sit there and binge a bunch of his books. I enjoy them, but I don't, before starting them, enjoy the concepts or the idea of reading them, if that makes sense. It's one of those like I'm picking on his book until I actually am into it, and then I realize how much I really enjoy some of his books. Next, I do have a couple books of the Aragon series. I do have Aragon itself, Eldest, and then finally Brysinger, and I do love this size. However, because I have 2 like first prints and original books, I do want to keep and thrift the other 2 books if I like this series, but I finally want to tackle this because technically my sister had a first edition and a first print when it first came out, so like what was that, 05, and I've always seen these books, never really got around to reading them, even though I kind of wanted to. I was always interested in them, and now finally that I have a couple more than just the first book, I want to dive in, read these, and also see if I absolutely love them. And then next, I also have the final book so far in the Empyrean series, I do believe this is called. This is Onyx Storm. You guys have all either read it or heard of it. It's one of those series that took the internet by storm when Fourth Wing was first announced and also published, and I really enjoyed Fourth Wing. However, Iron Flame was my favorite book so far. That was like a 6-star book because I love the plot and the military style, and I think I got a spoiler from this book, so I cannot read this book for at least half a year. I need to actually hopefully forget, because I was watching a book, I think from Allie, and she said something, and I was like, please tell me that is not a spoiler, because I'm going to be really upset if that is truly a spoiler. So now I need to move on, have multiple months, and totally forget about what she said. Hopefully I can forget. I am very excited about this. However, I've seen so many people just in a way cry, but also like, how are we supposed to wait for another year or 2? I think it took 2 years and she might come out with it. I don't think it's going to come out in 2026. It might be like 2027 or so. Next, I also have 5 Broken Blades. This is one that's always been on my like radar to try and pick up, but I never really found it until I was in a bargain bin, and then I think I picked this up for $3.50. No clue what it's about. I think it's a trilogy, if I do believe. However, I am very interested to at least read the first book. Next, I have 2 different series from one of the same author. So first, we have a couple books in the Lunar Chronicles. I just have Cinder, Crest, and Winter. In specific with this, I think there's 2 novellas I'm missing and maybe 1 potential actual book. These are story retellings, I do believe, of like Cinderella, Rapunzel, Sleeping Beauty. I can't remember the other ones, but I actually really love Marissa Meyer, and I have had this series for a couple years now, so I definitely want to tackle it, try and get into it, see if I really enjoy it like I have her Renegades trilogy and also Heartless. I really enjoyed those books, so hopefully I will enjoy this series, and if so, hopefully I can also find this cover, because I only can find these newer ones that are like not matte or not this feeling. These are more like the original ones, or I can find the ones that are like multiple different colors on the spines, and I guess they make a pictures of actual people on them, I do believe. So this is a good potential. I am excited to finally start this series this year. Next, also from Marissa Meyer, I have a duology that I'm super excited to get into this year. It is Gilded and also Cursed. And these two books, I have no clue what they're about. I love the covers. Again, with Marissa Meyer, I just feel like I love her writing and just her storytelling, her worlds. So I'm really excited to hop into these. And since it's just a duology, I feel like I'm gonna absolutely love it. And they'll look so good next to my Renegade series. Next, I have two books out of, I do believe, a trilogy from Olive Blake, and I've never read a book from her. However, I seen one of these. It's actually the second one, The Atlas Paradox, for $2 at Half Price Books, and my husband for my birthday just said, just throw it in the cart, just get it. It's just $2. We can go get you the first book, because I didn't have the first book on the shelf. So I ordered this, I think, from Thrift Books for the Atlas 6, and I'm hoping I enjoy this. And I thought it was just a duology, and then I found out after I bought this that I think it's either a trilogy or it's 4 books in a series. I do believe it's a trilogy, so I'm a little upset about that, but as long as I love this book and then hopefully this book as well, I can go into the third book, and if I can complete the entire series and I enjoy all of them, I think they're gonna look really good on my shelf. And maybe I'll pick up more books from her in the future if I love this. Again, I have 2 different series in a way, but one whole world, I think, from one specific author. This is Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson. I read the first one that was on my 25 and 25, so we have 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and finally The Last Olympian. I had no idea what I thought about with this series when I first went into it, but it was so easy to read. The stories I have, the font size in here is so big, so I felt like I was flying through, and I just really enjoyed the story, and I feel like I'm gonna enjoy reading the rest of the series, and hopefully I end up enjoying it enough and maybe I can find hardcovers to match this next series that I have from him. This next series is actually The Trials of Apollo. I picked these all up at a Goodwill in Las Vegas when we were stationed out there, and I have 4 out of the 5 books. So the first one we have is The Hidden Oracle, The Dark Prophecy, The Burning Maze, and finally The Tyrant's Tomb. I have no clue if the series involves Percy Jackson, but I do believe it's in a way the same world, and I do believe it's Greek mythology. I could be wrong. I love how these looked, and if I could find hardcovers and we can match all of those to these, I think they would all look good on my shelf as long as I like them. Then I have 2 books out of a series that I am really excited to read, and also I found out that this is more like No Spice. It's kind of Hunger Games-esque, I do believe. I'm not 100% positive, but I know everybody who's read this loves them, loves really the novella. Apparently the novellas are really good too. And I do like how she named her books and then her novellas, they're all coincide with each other in like a really good way. So we do have Powerless and also the second book, Reckless. I'm really excited to hop into the series this year, and I do believe Powerless is on my 26 and 26. And then we have an author who I'm not even going to try and say her name. I have no clue, but I'm sure you know the books that I'm going to hold up. So I do have An Ember in the Ashes and then also A Torch Against the Night. I love these covers a lot more than the other covers I see all over the place on like Goodreads, and then other people have where like their spines have, I think, blue, green, and random colors down here. I don't like those covers at all. I really love these, so I've been trying to find these, and in Half Price Books I did just go ahead and pick up the second book. I think I'm gonna love this series, and I think the first time I ever seen this was Rachel Catherine talked about it, and me and her have very similar taste, especially with the fantasy side, so I have good hopes for these. And then also I think following this world, if I'm not wrong, I have another book from this author, but this is going to be potentially a duology. I think just the first book is out, and it is called Air. I got this with 5 broken blades at that bargain bin for like $3 or so, and apparently they say, or I've seen at least, that you're supposed to have read An Ember in the Ashes. I don't think it has spoilers to those specific characters, but I think for the world and other things inside of that book, you should probably read that series first. So my idea is to hop into that series, try and finish it, and then potentially read this book, and by the time I finish the series, if the second book is out by then, of course go into the second book. But I love this cover. This is the main reason I picked this up, is because of how beautiful it was, and I remembered her from being the author of An Ember in the Ashes. And then we have a book that I think read about 250 pages of, and then I soft DNF'd it, I think 2 years ago, because we were in the process of moving. I knew it was a bigger book. I thought it was going to be perfect when we moved home from Las Vegas, and I just didn't like the copy size I had. The copy I had was basically this size, a little bit thicker than this. You guys know the size that I'm talking about. This is Game of Thrones, and then also I have the book too, which is the Clash of Kings. I found originally this one in Las Vegas. That's one reason I got rid of my smaller ones, was because I seen this and I was like, oh, they have a big floppy size. Well, let me go ahead and switch out my books to that. And I just in December, for 10% off at Half Price Books, found finally the non-movie cover in this size for Game of Thrones. It took me almost a whole year to find this specific book, and this is all I wanted. And look how good they look together, and I am so excited to finish out the rest of the series in this big size. Well, to finish out the books that I'm gonna potentially read up to, because it's not a finished series. But I love this, and I am excited to go back and revisit the 250 or so pages that I started, and then actually finish the whole book, because this book in specific is going to be so easy to read. It is so floppy. It's like my Stephen King Under the Dome that I have, and also the font is so much bigger. So I think I'm going to really enjoy this size, and they just look so much better on my shelf, in my opinion. I love this size paperback, and then of course I'm more of a hardback person, and these just fit really well together. Next, I have a Christian Western historical fiction series or trilogy that I found at a thrift store, at least the first book, and then I went on Thrift Books, I think with the Atlas 6, and picked up 2 other books because I had a free book coupon, and I just wanted to get a couple books next in the series, or a couple books that I thought I would read for sure. So I do have from Judith Pella, we have The Frontier Lady, Stoner's Crossing, and then also Warrior's Song. I love these covers. They are so beautiful, and the fact that they're Christian, hopefully absolutely love these, and I'm so excited to hop into these. They look so pretty on the shelf. I've been trying to kind of branch more into Christian stuff because I just feel so much better reading it, and I'm not big on romance in general, especially romance anymore, because it's more of like that, in my opinion, lust type stuff, and I just like more of the Christian stuff, more of the closed door YA stuff, and it's getting really hard to find that. So I'm just trying to branch more into Christian, because also I feel like the stories that I've read I've really enjoyed, and I'm really on a Western historical fiction kick, more so Western, because this is more my time period that I absolutely love. I love the late 1800s, early 1900s, and then especially with my husband and I replaying Red Dead a little bit, I'm just here for the vibes at the moment. These are 3 that I picked up, and I can't tell you how excited I am to hop into these. Going along with Christian, I do have Christian mystery with subplot of romance from one specific author, and we have a couple different ones. So first we have a standalone from Colleen Cobble called Strands of Truth. I think this is a mystery, still should have Christian values in it, and it might probably have a subplot of romance. I'm not 100% positive on this because it is a standalone. Haven't really read too much about it. Same goes with Alaska Twilight. I do believe this is a standalone as well. I picked this up at my library when they were having a little sale for 50 cents. Can't really go wrong. I know I love this author. In fact, I know I love this author because I've read 5 or so books from her. Absolutely love them. I have the final book in the Mercy Falls trilogy, which is the Lightkeeper's Ball. Love this trilogy. I think this is my favorite series so far from her. So excited to hop into this and finish this and see what mystery is in this, what subplot of romance is definitely in this, and this is the time period I love. This is, I do believe this was the 1880s or 1890s, so it goes along with the time period I really love. And then finally, I have 3 books for the Lone Star Sanctuary series. This is the series, or the book that started it all, and it's actually behind me. It's called Lone Star Sanctuary, and the first, I do believe this is the order that it goes in. The next one is Lone Star Secrets, then we have Lone Star Homecoming, and then finally Lone Star Angel. It might be Secrets, Angel, and then Homecoming. I'm not really positive. I probably just mixed them up. I really want to finish the first series that I ever read from her, or the first book I ever read from her. I never got to finish that series, so I have all of these books I just got from Half Price Books and on Thrift Books, and I want to completely finish them out, and I know I'm gonna love this. This is Western, more Texas, and I do believe it's more like 2012, give or take, timeline, so it's not the older style, but it's still Western Christian mystery. Like the first one I think had almost a murder in it. It was very interesting, so I'm happy to get back into the series. Next, I have a thriller from Lucy Foley. This is The Paris Apartment. I've read the guest list. I kind of enjoyed it, but I liked Agatha Christie stuff more, so I wasn't as entertained with guest lists. However, this, I used to hear good things when I think it was very popular, and I thrifted this at a Goodwill many years ago, and it's sat on my shelf. So I want to finally finish it, see if I'm gonna enjoy it, because I feel like Lucy Foley right now is a author. I've only read 1 book from her, so this will kind of determine if I want to try other books or just kind of cut my losses, but I have hopes for this book. Next, I'm super excited about this book. Again, I'm on like a Western kind of kick in a way. I wanted to try and find Lonesome Dove because everybody said if you love Red Dead, you'll love this book, and they always hold up Lonesome Dove, and I couldn't find it from Larry McMurtry, but I did find Boone's Lick, and I think I only paid like $3 for this. Westerns at Half Price Books are the original Half Price Books type pricing instead of being super expensive. And here recently, right behind me, I have The Cherokee Trail by Louis L'Amour. I just picked that up at the same time I picked this up. Loved it. I read that for, I think, Christmas. I started at Christmas Eve, and it was only, I think, 200 pages, 165, give or take. Love that book so much, so I have really big hopes for Larry McMurtry. And then again, I want to try and find Lonesome Dove in hardcover and see if I'm gonna love it. I love this cover though, and I'm here for the vibes. I'm here for the Western vibes, especially the older style books. I really enjoy them a lot here recently in the last couple of years. Then I have a Christian, I just call these like self-help. I have no clue what to call these. This is called It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. It's one of those that just has multiple things, passages that you can read about, and then you can try and apply it to your life. You might be able to go into the Bible, look up passages. It's just kind of like a little study thing in a way, but also just like a self-help book. I don't know. Then I have my final 3 Nicholas Sparks books that I have left to tackle out of, you can't really see them, but I have, I think, 20 something over here all read. The first book I have is called The Rescue, then we have A Bend in the Road, and then finally Safe Haven. These are just ones I've collected over the years. These 2 I used to get mixed up a little bit, so they've just always sat on my shelf. Never really had a feeling or a reason to want to gravitate. And then this one, I seen the movie, so I'm not necessarily not invested. I just think think Nicholas Sparks is not for me anymore as much. Like, I think I still enjoy his books, but he's one that I could read 1 or 2 a year, versus before when I was in, I'd say, high school or so, I was trying to read them like once a month. Then I have 2 books of a series that I am so excited about, or I guess added onto a series as prequels. I am so excited to get into these books. I finally found, thanks to my husband for Christmas, he ordered it off of, I do believe, Amazon. I finally found the book that I wanted in hardcover. It's The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And then of course we have the other prequel that I found, I think at Half Price Books for my birthday, which is Sunrise on the Reaping. I think this one is Haymage's, and then this one is President Snow's. President Snow's is so chunky. This one's kind of more, I think it's Catching Fire is the chunkiest out of the original trilogy. I can't wait to finish these, set these next to the original trilogy, go into these, learn more about this. I am so excited, and then also to see the movies, because I have never seen the movies for these ones just yet. Then we have a start to a trilogy, I do believe, or at least a series that I thrifted for 25 cents at a St. Vincent. Never read it. It looked familiar. It's a YA, I do believe, like romance, potentially fantasy or so. It is called The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. You might have seen this or not. I have no clue what this is about. It's just one that is now has sat potentially on my shelf for about a year, and I kind of want to get into it and finish it. I don't really want books sitting on my shelf no more. Well, at least not books sitting on my shelf for multiple years. Then I have a part of a trilogy, and this is the final 2 books of this, because the first book was really good. The first book was called The Young Elites by Maureen Liu. She's the one who wrote Legend, Prodigy, and Champion, and then she just came out with that The Red Sky or something like that. She just had a new book come out, and then this is the second book called The Rose Society, and then The Midnight Star. I love the first book. The Young Elites was so good. It ended on a cliffhanger. Well, a little bit of a cliffhanger, more so like one that set up for book 2, and I thought was really good, and I'm so excited to kind of refresh my memory on The Young Elites and then go into this and see if I really enjoy it. I also have a book on here that I've considered potentially getting rid of. I want to maybe try tackling the first book, but I think as the series progresses it gets really spicy, I'm gonna say, and I just don't know if I want to tackle a series that might be like that. It is ACOTAR. You guys have all heard and seen this. I've never seen any spoilers for this. I've never seen any actual plot or like things that people have talked about because I skipped this. I was given this book, and at the time I was really intrigued and interested, but I don't think that Sarah J Maas is going to be really an author for me. I'm not interested in her Throne and Glass series. I don't think I'm interested in Crescent City series, and then this I'm kind of interested in, but if the last couple books get really spicy, then I just don't think I'm going to be really interested in them. I don't think I'm really going to want to dedicate a lot of my time to her series if I'm not going to potentially like them, and I feel like this book might be really good, but the next couple might not be from what I've heard, and I don't know. I've considered getting rid of it. It has sat on my shelf for I think like 4 years now. It's been a while, and I just don't know if I really want to part with it just yet, if I also want to just sit and read it. I know that probably makes no sense, but it's just kind of how I'm feeling. And then we do have book 2 and 3 of the Cruel Prince trilogy. We have The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing. Cruel Prince was more of a down the middle. I didn't really care for it, and I didn't hate it at the same time, but the ending of it I really enjoyed. I thought it picked up a lot more, and a lot of people said if you like the ending of the first book, you're gonna love book 2. More so book 2, but also book 3, and so I'm kind of invested now into this, and I do believe this is on my 26 and 26, or at least the first book. So I want to finish this series because I was so excited to thrift it 2 years ago for my birthday, and or get it from Half Price Books, but I just was a little discouraged after I read the first one, but then seeing people's comments about how it definitely gets better. It's like the first book sets up for the world, and then how the ending of that first book is how the rest of the series goes. It kind of made me really excited to get into this book, so I have more hope for this, which is a very good thing. All right, we have one final small stack, well, I'm gonna say medium stack left. Next I have the final book of the Infernal Devices series. This is Clockwork Princess. I am so ready to be done with this series. I didn't enjoy it as much. I think the first one I rated 4 stars, the second one was like 3.5. Looking back though, I just didn't like it as much, and I don't know. I asked around if this is one of those series that maybe it just isn't like the best of the series, but I'm kind of thinking that it's not so much that, because I've seen people saying this is like the classic original trilogy that kind of starts it all, and then also they love these characters, they love this series, so I think maybe just Cassandra Clare's writing is just not for me, or it's more her characters are just not enough for me, or I'm not getting something's not connecting, I guess. So I'm wanting to finish out this trilogy, and then maybe I'll just buy Free Little Libraries this whole series, because I did tape these, and I don't know if Half Price Books would take them, and I taped them because as cute as these are, they're also very cheap, and a lot of my books on the very back, they were peeling. It was like tissue paper. Underneath was just like a full look, so I ended up taping them to make sure that they wouldn't peel. And I don't even like the series, so now I feel bad that I did that. Well, it's not that I don't like it, it's just not what I thought it was going to be. Next, I kind of have a couple romances. I might be a little picky on my romances, and I'm so sorry about that. This I have a lot of hope for. This is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I think she also is more clean, or not so much YA, but I do believe these are more clean, and I'm excited to try this out because I've never read a book from her. I love her covers. I like how they all line up, like the spines on on a shelf because she always kind of makes her books that are all standalones look very similar. And I've heard amazing things about this, and I feel like maybe this year during the summer I should try it and see if I actually enjoy it. Sitting behind me, you can see I have a couple books from Emily Henry, and I have funny story. I'm usually about a year late to her books. Last year she came out with that, what, A Great Big Beautiful Life. I just read last year Happy Place. Now this year, going into 2026, I'm reading Funny Story, and I'm sure she's gonna come out with another book this year. So I haven't heard anything about this. I think some people really like this, and other people it felt really flat for. I'm 2 for 2 for her books. Beach Read and Book Lovers I really didn't like that much. People We Love on Vacation, and then also Happy Place I enjoyed a lot. So hopefully this is better than those two, or at least as good as those two. And then we have a series that I'm a little bit worried going into it because I wasn't sure about this author. It was one of those that when I picked up this book, I was more just looking what was kind of popular, not really knowing my book taste besides of when I would go thrifting. So going to an actual store, I wasn't sure just how I felt. I knew a lot of people read romance, so I kind of tried to get into that a little bit, and I did read Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score. I enjoyed that because it had more story, less romance. Well, I mean, it still had the romance, but I felt like you could take the romance out and it was still a whole story. Versus Forever Never, I did not like that book at all, and I was also like very different, I'll just say. So I do have the Knock 'Em Out trilogy, and I've heard mixed things about this. I think some people like this book, hate this book, like this book. And also after reading one book I liked and one book I didn't like from her, I'm a little mixed. So I do want to get into this tablet finally after having it many years on my shelf, but I hope they're not too dirty. If so, I'll just get rid of them. It's fine. I don't care that much, especially about, no offense, romance books. Next I have my final thriller from this author, The Tenant by Frida McFadden. I have enjoyed her books. They're very bingey in a way, and I don't have to worry about thinking too much. I can just hop into them, use no brain at all. I'm going to call everything that happens in this book, or most of the things that happens, or like predict a lot of the things, but even if I predict them, I'm still gonna love the book. I still rate them like 4 stars. And this one I found very interesting. I did pick this up last year, not knowing it was a 2025 release, and I think that I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this. And also my husband and I would like to go see The Housemaid because I talked to him about it, and I was like, I just want to know what that is, because sometimes he enjoys watching movies that I have read books about, and we like doing it together. So we have been in a way trying to find it more so we can watch it at home, but it just came out. And hopefully this book gives me the same feeling, the same vibes that I got from The Housemaid, Ward D, and also The Inmate. Those are the only 3 books that I've read from her, besides hopefully this one as well. Next I have a sci-fi book that I heard no bad things about until I picked it up and I thrifted it from a Goodwill, and then all of a sudden I seen bad things about it. It is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This book was kind of calling to me for some reason with the cover, and then also sitting on a shelf, and I was thinking maybe I've heard of this somewhere. I wasn't sure where, so I do want to get into it, read it, just have my own opinion, because I think sometimes I listen too much to other people's opinions, and this is one that I truly thrifted, knowing nothing kind of about it but just looking at the cover. So I'm very intrigued into this one. And then I have book 2, Following Red Queen. This is the only book besides Red Queen that I own in the series. This is Glass Sword. I liked Red Queen a lot. I did read Red Queen, and then a few weeks later, I do believe, or a couple books after that, I read Red Rising, and I felt like they were very similar. I kind of like this a little bit more than Red Rising, but I think I'm going to enjoy this book because I loved how the last one ended off, and I hopefully can find the rest of the series in this copy too, because I can only find the newer ones or the hardcovers, or I can just switch them out for hardcovers. Maybe I should do that. I think I'll have an easier time switching them out to hardcovers than trying to find the rest of the series in this style, this size, and this older edition. And finally, my final book that I have on my physical TBR is one that I thrifted, I think in like 2016 or so. It is a memoir, and I am very excited to get into it, hopefully this year. It is called Breaking the Code, and it also says A Father's Secret, A Daughter's Journey, and the Question That Changed Everything. It's just one that throughout the years, anytime I unhauled stuff, I never got rid of this book. So I do want to tackle it, see what it's actually about, and it's a memoir I have on my 26 and 26, so I hopefully will enjoy it and be able to recommend it to other people looking for memoirs. And there you have it. That is all my books on my physical TBR, both old, new, paperback, hardback, lots of series, lots of different authors, some of them multiple books, multiple series from the same author. Like I said last year in 2025, I started the year off with 98 books. I've read 56 books, but in total at the end of the year, I still had 75 books left on my physical TBR. Starting out 2026, I have 75 books still on my physical TBR. So we are going to potentially tackle, I would love to be around 50, 55 books. Last year, 60, 65 books was my goal to be around, and I was 10 books off of it, which I thought was actually pretty good considering, because the final month of 2025, I went from reading about, I'd say 3 to 6 books on average to 10 books. I read 10 books in December. So I really kicked butt that last month, and I enjoyed truly all of the books I was reading, besides the one book that I actually got rid of, and my final book of the year. I was just having fun, and I feel like this year is going to be a really good year to try and tackle my physical TBR better than ever before, and I have a lot of amazing series. A lot of the series or books on my list, I already know I like them, the author, so I feel like it's gonna be easy. And also I'm so excited to tackle my 26 and 26 because I think I'm just gonna have a fun time and it's going to be a lot easier to tackle that list. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. How many books do you guys have on your physical TBR? Because I know 75 is a crazy amount, but because it fits on just 2 of my shelves, I feel like, well, I guess a little bit more because I have my older books. So I feel like it's not too bad considering all of my books that I own besides coffee table books fit on here, and I can fit my coffee table books on here. I'm doing a decent job at trying to also unhaul books that I don't enjoy that much. I'm trying to keep my bookshelves not too crowded, even though I do want more bookshelves made. I'm trying to use my space that I have and not overuse it or over consume, if that makes sense. So thank you again, and I hope to see you in another video here on my channel. And as always, God bless.